How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, my friends. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you. You just got to be patient with me. We got a lot of stuff to cover, and I got to switch gears here real quick because I got to get to the China story. However, before I get to the China story, I got to tell you, Jim Messina on MSNBC told their viewers the early vote numbers are a little scary. That's his quote. The Trump campaign has just released a public memo. And let me read this to you. With early voting closed and Election Day on the horizon, Democrats are facing a massive turnout deficit. In every single battleground state, we see President Trump and Republicans outperforming elections passed in absentee ballots and early votes cast. As we dig deeper into the data, Democrats are facing a precipitous decline in urban turnout, according to their own data experts. Obama's former campaign chairman or manager, Jim Messina, told MSNBC, quote, the early vote numbers are a little scary. According to NBC News, President Trump has a 16-point lead among voters who plan to cast their ballot on Election Day. Obama's chief campaign strategist, David Axelrod, told CNN that there are no guarantees that voters will turn out on Election Day for Vice President Harris. According to the Democratic data expert Tom Bonner of Target Smart, urban turnout is down 385,000 votes compared to 2020. Female turnout is down 170,000 votes compared to 2020. Rural turnout is up 14,124 votes compared to 2020. In Georgia, urban turnout is down 153,846 votes. Female turnout is down 46,000 votes. Rural turnout is up 171,837 votes. In Michigan, urban turnout is down 321,523 votes compared to 2020. Female turnout is down 204,856 votes. Rural turnout is up 55,951 votes. In North Carolina, urban turnout is down 175,470 votes. Female turnout is down 154,459 votes. And rural turnout is up 26,911 votes. In Nevada, urban turnout is down 191,000 votes, and female turnout is down 126,000 votes. They don't have a rural number in Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin because of the way the voting shows. In Pennsylvania, urban turnout is down 381,000, female turnout down 450,000 compared to 2020. In Wisconsin, urban's down 100,000 and female down 238,000 compared to 2020. Those are notable numbers, and those numbers come from the Democrats, not from the Republicans. And that comes as Jim Messina is on MSNBC saying the early voting numbers are scary, and David Axelrod is on CNN saying Kamala Harris isn't going to win Election Day voting. Now, again, the question is cannibalization. Are Republican numbers offset now compared to Election Day voting? We don't know, but the odds are they're not. So that does look good for Donald Trump headed into tomorrow. Now, stick around for the bottom of the hour on this. I'll take some phone calls here in a little bit, but I got to talk about the story because this is not getting enough airtime. There is a story that should send a chill up your spine. The Chinese have been able to hack the surveillance and wiretapping system that American telecom companies built for the use of the U.S. federal law enforcement agencies after 9/11. And they are currently in the system using it. Millions of mobile phone users on the network of 3 U.S. carriers are subject to Chinese government surveillance, in particular the SMS and RCS system. So if you are an Apple user, if you're an iPhone user, Charlie, and you are texting other iPhone users, you get that blue chat bubble, you've got nothing to worry about. But if you're trading green chat bubbles with friends, if you're on the Android system, if you're on any other cell system that's not an iPhone, the Chinese are literally reading everything you have and able to snoop into your phone calls as well. Josh Rogan of the Washington Post is pointing this out. Several officials told me that targets identified by the intelligence community are senior government officials and top business leaders. It's much more serious and much worse than even what you presume at this point, says Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Senator Warner of Virginia. It's one of the most serious breaches in my time on the Intelligence Committee. The officials said the number of compromised targets identified in the investigation is growing. Multiple officials briefed by investigators said the U.S. government does not know how many people were targeted, how many were surveilled, how long the Chinese hackers have been in the system, or even how to get them out of the system. Right now, China has the ability to listen to any phone call in the United States, whether you're the president of the United States or a regular Joe. It makes no difference, said one of the victims, according to a briefing given to him by the FBI. This has compromised the entire telecommunications infrastructure of the country. The Chinese government could use its infiltration of the telecom network to disable them during warfare, for instance. The network collected from Americans, the information collected from Americans could be used for blackmail or disinformation. Not only are they potentially inserting malware to disrupt the telecommunications system, it's a surveillance system where they're compiling data on all of us. And here's the key point here. The government of the United States, led by Joseph Robinette Biden, the current president of the United States, has no idea how to get them out of the system. Let me say this again. The Chinese government is actively right now infiltrating the major telecom companies and our cell phone networks in this country. The Chinese government at this very moment has the ability to listen to your phone calls and read all of your text messages unless they're sent through iMessage. They can use that information to blackmail you. They can use that information to shut down our wireless telecom system. They can use that information to insert malware. They can use that information against the United States. It is the most massive security breach of our telecommunications system ever. And they're using the backdoor system developed by telecom companies after 9/11 for the United States government to be able to root out terrorism. And our government is doing nothing. This is a hard thing to talk about at the close of a political campaign when people are focused on the economy, they're focused on illegal immigrants. But this is a massive story. This is a massive big deal. Jamie Dimon, the chairman of Citibank, or Citigroup, I guess. The Citigroup, no, it's Chase. It's JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. He says World War III has already started. And I don't necessarily think he's wrong. Certainly a Cold War period. And right now, China seems to be winning. Decline is a choice, and we seem to have chosen decline. The United States government has difficulty right now in Joe Biden's administration putting ships to sea, fixing submarines that need fixing, manufacturing weapons systems and ammunition at sufficient rates. We're dependent on the Chinese for microchips. And all of Chinese industrial capacity is militarized by the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army. And we're doing nothing about it. Think about that balloon that flew over in February of last year. Got all the way across the United States snooping and collecting data. The Biden administration decided it was far better to allow the Chinese to spy on all of us than shoot it down, even over the mountains of the Rockies and the wide territory of Montana, lest it fall on someone. Have to wait for it to get all the way across the United States and go into the ocean. And they claimed that they were able to jam it so that it couldn't actually get information, but only after the fact did they say, actually, that's not true. It's remarkable. We've gotten weaker. And this is the Biden-Harris administration. Kamala Harris is involved in this. This is a massive breach of our national security for which they haven't done anything. These are the sorts of issues that will shape the election. These are the sorts of issues that will shape the future of this country. These are the sorts of issues that are going to shape our ability to respond to China. And what we have in the Biden administration are a bunch of nonprofit academics who have taken over our national security apparatus, who do not particularly like the United States and certainly don't like Israel. And they've been caught flat-footed by this. The Chinese are in it to win it. Our academics are in it to lecture us and scold us. It's part of the problem here. The Biden administration overwhelmingly, the Obama administration actually set the record for most academics in an administration. The overwhelming number of people who worked for Barack Obama had never had a job in the private sector, and Joe Biden has actually beaten that record. Joe Biden now has more people in the Biden administration who worked in academia and nonprofits and not the private sector. And the academics have put us all behind. You know, John McCain, for all of his faults, said that Anthony Blinken was one of the most worthless public servants in America and should never be let anywhere near power. And then Joe Biden gets into the White House and makes him Secretary of State. Jake Sullivan's not much better. You know, Jake Sullivan's wife is running for Congress in New Hampshire. Did y'all see the clip of the lady? She immigrated from Asia, not from China, I think, but in very broken English. She's running as a Republican. She's the one who got the pocket constitution, read it, and became a conservative, supported liberty. She's running for Congress, and she doesn't have fantastic English. She's running as a Republican against Jake Sullivan's wife, who was just snide and arrogant in that debate against this Chinese immigrant lady, or Asian immigrant lady. We got a lot of people in this country who have fled the communists who would love to help. They're shut out of the Biden administration. This is a major national security breach. The Chinese have infiltrated all of our wireless telecommunication services. And you know one of the things you can do with wireless telecom now, you can track people. You find out someone's phone, you can track them wherever they go. You can track them across the country. The New York Times showed how this data can be used to identify key individuals and then follow them wherever they go. The Chinese now have that capacity. The Chinese now have access to all your text messages. They have all the data that you're downloading to your phone. You're looking at a pornographic site, the Chinese know. Your phone calls, they know what you're saying to your friends. Everybody needs to call a friend today and insult Xi Jinping. So the Chinese have it. Everybody needs to call a friend today and talk about the Tiananmen Square massacre, because I bet the Chinese soldiers listening to your phone calls have no idea about the Tiananmen Square. China has compromised our national security. They've compromised our cell services. And the most damning indictment of all is that the Biden administration has no idea what to do about it. And the president of the United States is back in Delaware, back on vacation. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Let me go to Bart's phone call here. Welcome to the show, Bart. How are you?
Yeah, hey, Eric. Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, I got a nice anecdotal story for you. My older sister, lives up in Springboro, Ohio. No, not Springfield, not the cat-eating places, but she does refer to that as not necessarily false. Anyway, we were talking yesterday. She was very nervous about it, but she told me the story about back in 2016, her subdivision was packed with Trump signs. And every house had a Trump sign back then. And then in 2020 and now 2024, none whatsoever. And all her neighbors are voting for Trump. And she feels the same way, that everybody's just afraid to show it. And that's why the polling may be very off.
Yeah, I think the data, and I just saw Patrick Affini, who's a great pollster, longtime friend of mine, putting up data like the Ann Selzer poll and the Marist poll, and the I forget the third one. The ones that have Kamala Harris ahead are the ones that do not consider the education of the voter. And it is much more likely, we know from the data, that educated, well-off white women are the people most likely to want to talk to pollsters. When you factor in education and you poll for people based on education, the race is either tied or Trump's slightly ahead. And I just have a sneaking suspicion that what we are seeing in some of these polls is a willingness of white progressive women to decide that they're the ones who are going to talk to the pollsters. And if you're not adjusting for the propensity of these highly educated white progressive women to talk to pollsters, you're going to get a poll that disproportionately shows that she's ahead. Now, at the same time, I do think there's a shift at the end. In fact, if you take all the polling together, and again, look at the average and look at the trends, and the trend has been at this last minute to see a slight shift towards Kamala Harris. And in a very close election, that could matter, and you could actually get a blowout by Kamala Harris on Election Day. But my suspicion is still that Trump's going to win when you look at the polling that corrects for education oversampling. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computer right now. My friends at Vision, and I need to flag something for all of you. Yeah. I talk about them all the time, but just listen to me here. If you're in Sacramento, California, my affiliate, KSTE, or you're up at WTIC or WICC up in Connecticut, even though Vision's based in Atlanta, they can help your business too. Any one of you nationwide, you can call them at 404-COMPUTE. For $179 a year per computer, they can be your tech support. So, for example, you need a computer, you got a computer already, so you don't need a new computer, but you need someone who can remote in and fix something on your computer. Vision can do that for you, whether you're in Sacramento or Connecticut or Atlanta or Miami, doesn't matter. And all your employees, if you have them for your company, can call Vision, and you get a special phone number. 15 seconds or less, you get the answer to what you need. All you have to do is call them at 404-COMPUTE today or go to visioncomputers.com. And if you tell them Eric Erickson sent you, you're going to save even more money. They can also build you machines that save you money and last you a long time. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very happy to have you. Y'all, you can laugh. My daughter has decided she wants to go to she wants to go with some friends to Chicago after Christmas. One of her college friends she's gotten to know lives in Chicago, and they were going to drive up, or they were going to fly up and then drive back. Well, when my kid found out how many people were going to be piled in the car together on the way home, she's like, "Hi, May, can I fly back?" I was like, "Look, I got plenty of frequent flyer miles. Don't worry about it. We can fly you up, sit with the friends in the back of the plane. I'm not sending you to Chicago first class." She's like, "Fine." So I booked the ticket, and I click submit and get the itinerary immediately followed by, "You've been upgraded to first class." Like, I didn't want her to be in first class. She's very excited about it. Me, not so much. All right, welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Those of you who are on the phones Be patient. I want to get to you, but I've got to actually do something rather important at this moment. I want to go through the state of play for you. First of all, I want to encourage all of you to subscribe to the show notes so that for Election Day you get this. I have made sure. In fact, I'm gonna send this video monologue out tomorrow, and in tomorrow's show notes, I've already written them because let's be honest, there's not going to be any news tomorrow until the polls close. But I want to give you the state of play. And here's what I want you to know about tomorrow. And I'm going to do this all over again tomorrow as well. That's how strongly I feel about this needs to be said. So let me give you the state of play for tomorrow. At about 10 a.m. tomorrow, exit polling is going to be released. And that exit polling is going to be wrong. And I just need you to know the exit polling is going to be wrong. Why? Because the exit polling is released in 3 waves. The first wave is in the morning, and it is a compilation of early voting and early morning voting. The second wave at noon is the people who voted mid-morning to noon. The third wave is when the polls start to close in the evening after 5 o'clock. That exit polling you can pay attention to. Why? Why can't you pay attention to the early? So the early exit polling is unadjusted. It's raw data. You don't know when you get the early morning exit polling how many black people voted, how many white people, how many Hispanic people, how many men, how many women, how many old people, how many young people. You don't get any of the demographics. You just get the raw data. You don't get it for the midday exit polling either. And so you have this, if a whole lot of white people vote between 9 a.m. and noon, the exit polling you're going to see is going to make it look like Donald Trump is a crushing victory. If a bunch of women and black voters line up first thing in the morning, there's going to be this massive crushing victory for Harris. At the end of the day, what the exit pollsters do is they go back into the data for early voting and day of voting, and they look at how many Hispanic people actually voted, how many black people actually voted, how many men voted, how many women voted, how many Asians voted, how many people 65 and up voted, how many people 45 to 55 voted, how many people 55 to 65 voted, how many people 18 to 25 voted, how many 25 to 35 voted, how many 35 to 40. They make all these adjustments based on the actual numbers of people who voted and their demographic characteristics. How many college-educated people voted, how many people with a post-grad degree voted, how many people who are working class voted. And they take all of those numbers and apply them through computer modeling to the exit polling. And what you get is the most accurate sampling of Americans every 2 years. The exit polling in this country are the most accurate polls. They are polls relied on by everyone, and they are polls that never ask who you voted for. What the exit polling does is it asks why you're voting. What is your big issue? So if you get the adjusted exit polling in the evening, and it shows that 75% of women are voting for abortion rights, and women make up 60% of the vote, you know this is going to be a blowout for Kamala Harris. If, however, it shows the number one issue is the economy, and the majority of people voted believe the country is headed in the wrong direction right now, you know Donald Trump has won. But you can't believe the morning and the midday exits. You have to wait for the exit polling in the evening that has made the adjustments based on the demography of the people who are actually voting. You have to wait for the exits in the evening. Don't be fooled. So now, how does it work? Tomorrow at 7 p.m., Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, and Virginia will have closed their polls. Now, Indiana and Kentucky close at 6 p.m., not 7 p.m., but they close, they're divided into 2 time zones. And so all of Indiana and all of Kentucky will be closed by 7 p.m. At 7:30, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia will close. North Carolina, swing state, 16 votes. Georgia, swing state at 7 p.m., 16 votes. At 8 o'clock p.m., Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Tennessee all close. And again, for Florida and Tennessee, they're split over time zones, so that's the latest poll closings. At 8:30, Arkansas closes, 6 electoral college votes. At 9 p.m. is the big one. Why? Because at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, South Dakota, Texas, Wisconsin, and Wyoming close. So at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, every one of the swing states except Nevada will be closed. And at 10 o'clock, Montana, Nevada, and Utah will close. At 11 p.m. Eastern Time, California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington close. 12 a.m. Eastern Time on November 6th, Hawaii closes. At 1 a.m. Eastern Time, November 6th, Alaska closes, and that's the end. Most of the states will this time count the absentee and early vote before they count the day of vote. So you hear about the blue shift overnight, and Republicans have used this as a conspiracy theory, and it's not a conspiracy theory. I know many of you want to consider this some sort of wild conspiracy theory. Here's what actually happens. In most states in the past, the election day vote is counted first. And Republicans tend to turn out more on election day. And so it looks really good. And then once the election day vote is totaled, they start totaling the absentees, and they count the absentees, and they count the early vote. And Democrats vote early and absentee. And so you see this big shift to the Democrats. And Republicans, this is a conspiracy theory. Look, they're adding votes to the Democrats. No, you idiots. It's that they counted the absentee and early vote after they counted election day. A lot of states, because of this conspiracy theory, are flipping it. And so you'll actually see the early and absentee before you see the day of. Wisconsin's not. Wisconsin's going to be a problem, just so you understand, and Pennsylvania too. It could take those a while to come in. But Georgia is going to have its early and absentees processed by 8 p.m. Florida is the gold standard. Florida does its elections better than anybody. Florida will close at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Florida actually closes at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, but the Panhandle is in the Central Time Zone, so it closes at 7 p.m. Central Time, which is 8 p.m. our time. Now, here's what's going to happen. And again, no conspiracy theory. Let's take the state of Vermont. The polls will close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the state of Vermont, and it will probably be the very first state called, and it will be called for Kamala Harris. In fact, when the polls close at 7 p.m., Wolf Blitzer may break in and say, "We've got our first race to call. Breaking news happening now. The state of Vermont and its 3 electoral college votes going to Kamala Harris." That's going to surprise not a single one of you. The surprise will be if Georgia, when the polls close at 7 p.m., comes in and they call it for Harris or Trump. If they call Georgia for Trump or Harris within the first 30 minutes after it closes, it's going to be a big night for one of those candidates. Some states you can call very quickly. For example, West Virginia will close at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to call that one for Donald Trump pretty quick. And the reason is because the pollsters use a very good model based on who voted. You've got to understand this. We know when the polls close, the modelers for calling the races, they look at key areas of states. So they're not looking, for example, let's take Rabun County, Georgia. I'm on the radio up there in Habersham County, actually south of there. The signal picks up into Rabun County. Rabun County is where my family and we love to go up there to the mountains to Lake Burton. I'd love a house on Lake Burton one day if I become a bajillionaire. Lake Rabun actually is a little more private nonetheless. I digress. That county is going to vote for Donald Trump. That county is a massively Republican county. And you know what? The exit pollsters are not there. They don't care about Rabun County. Why? Because it's not a swing county. The exit pollsters, they're in Cobb County. The exit pollsters, they're in Henry County. The exit pollsters are in Houston County. The exit pollsters are in parts of North Fulton County. The exit pollsters, in other words, are in the swing areas of the swing counties of the swing states. And if, based on their modeling, they see the vote coming in disproportionately for one candidate or the other in those areas, they can call a state very early. This isn't actually rocket science. You just have to have a good understanding of statistics, and most people don't, so they see conspiracy theories. It's like, for example, Fox News was able to call Arizona. To this day, Republicans are mad at Fox News for calling Arizona. They got it right. People forget they got it right. Why did they get it right? Because they had great statisticians, and they could model Arizona accurately enough to know that Donald Trump had lost Arizona in 2020. Same thing with Georgia and Biden. I suspect this time is going to be different. Based on what I'm seeing on the ground right now, I suspect they may be able to call Arizona. Arizona's going to close at 9 p.m. Eastern time. They may be able to call it pretty quick for Trump. But that's what you need to know for Election Day. Do not believe any exit polling data until after the sun goes down, because it's not going to be adjusted. And keep in mind the flow of the states as things get started after the polls close, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. All of the swing states except Nevada will be closed by 9 p.m. Eastern. Nevada closes at 10 p.m. Nevada is the least important of the swing states. Why? Because it's only got 6 electoral college votes. Arizona has 11. Wisconsin has 10. Michigan has 15. North Carolina and Georgia both have 16, and Pennsylvania has 19. Nevada is gravy. If it's a very tied race at 9 p.m., Nebraska's 2nd congressional district will matter. There are 5 congressional districts in Nevada. There are 5 electoral college votes. There are 3 congressional districts. The 2nd congressional district there is the Democratic district. Nebraska divides its electoral college votes up, 2 for the winner and then 1 for each congressional district. But this is going to be a pretty straightforward night. I just don't want you to get ahead of yourselves. I want you to subscribe, and we're going to push this out to everybody tomorrow just so you have it, so you'll be more informed than all your friends. If you text DATA to 33777 right now, text the word DATA to 33777, that top link back, subscribe to the show notes. Now, if you follow that link, you're going to get a discounted for a paid subscription, but you don't even need a paid subscription for the show notes. Why? For tomorrow, I've already done it. It's going to go out when the show starts at noon tomorrow, and it's going to give you, here's the Electoral College from 2020, here's the Electoral College shift for 2024, here are the undecided states, here are the poll closing times, here's when the exit polls roll out, here's when you can start believing the exit polls. Until then, don't believe anything. And I want you all to have that for tomorrow. It's very important to me that you have this so you're prepared for election night, and you'll be the most informed person in your circle of friends. All right, before I get out of here, I got to tell you about Swiss America. Did you all see, by the way, despite the interest rate cut from the Fed, mortgage interest rates have gone up, and it's a sign of they're worried about election instability is the way they're interpreting it. There's lots of instability out there. Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash for some time. They are rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they can educate you on protecting your assets. They have this report called The Secret War on Cash. I've got a copy of it. It takes less than 15 minutes to read, and it can help you with your retirement and finances. To get a copy completely for free, all you do is you call or text them at 800-289-2646. What do you say to them, or what do you text them? My name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's spreading. The government tracking how you spend money. Call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Just text them my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, but it's even easier if you don't want to deal with people. Just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome, greetings. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I, my friends, want to prepare you for when we come back. When we come back, I'm going to play for you the advertisement that Democrats and Republicans both believe turned Donald Trump's campaign around. It's not what you're thinking, probably. And it raises all sorts of difficult questions for the Democrats. All sorts of difficult questions for the Democrats. I'll play that when we come back. Right now, I gotta tell you, Donald Trump came to my town last night. He was in Macon, Georgia, not 5 miles from me. And I got a lot of people emailing, are you going? Absolutely not. Nope. So there's this thing that happens at Trump rallies. You may not be aware of this, but there's this thing that happens at Trump rallies. It's called people show up. And I don't like them. And so there was no way on God's good earth I was going to show up where there were going to be people, a sea of humanity. Now, it's one thing for me to be on a stage and be an MC at an event. I've done these several times and be able to leave and get out of the crowd. I don't like to be in crowds. I don't like crowds. I don't like a sea of humanity. There was no way on God's good earth I was going to go hang out at a rally. The line started at 1 p.m. and the event didn't even start till after 6 p.m. No. I was texting back and forth with some of the Trump campaign team, and I told them I'm going to be on my front porch with bourbon and cigars. If you want to come by, you're more than welcome to get out of the event. They were all in the motorcade, so they couldn't come. I was supposed to go to my buddy Braden's party on Saturday night. I was still in pain from my braces. I got sick on Saturday night. Thankfully, it wasn't. Thought it was a stomach bug. I think I just got food poisoning. Had to headed up to Rome, Georgia to go to a birthday party on Saturday night. Had to turn around and get back home because I was so sick by the time I got home. Thankfully, better Sunday night. But no, I was not going to go to this rally. God bless him. I invited his campaign team over to sit on my front porch if they didn't want to hang out at the billionth rally for the day. They couldn't do it. They had a great turnout. They were worried about crowd, actually. They were expecting 10+ thousand people, and about 4,000 showed up. And then by the time Trump got on stage, it was the sea of humanity. It was a massive crowd that finally showed up. In Raleigh this morning, there was not a big crowd for Trump, but that's not a warning sign for Trump. That's a sign that these people early voted. Once you early vote, you check out. You know this. Those of you who already cast your ballot, now you're done with the election. And so I'm not going to a rally. But that's actually a good sign for Trump in Raleigh this morning, that he did not have this massive sea of humanity. Now he's in Pennsylvania, and Harris is on stage at Scranton, Pennsylvania right now.